So, a while back, quite a while back now, I shot a video on the 7 forms of lightsaber combat. And that was one of the rare videos. You guys are used to me shooting reviews and doing performance videos and sticking to lightsabers. But that was one of the rare videos where I sort of delved into Star Wars lore. And a few of you guys sort of liked that and mentioned to me that you would be interested in having me do more videos on Star Wars lore. And like I said, that was a while back. And it's been sort of sitting around in the back of my mind in terms of what else would be useful to do for you guys about Star Wars lore. And when you're talking about Star Wars lore, you're riding a fine line between what's pedantic nerdery and what's actual useful or interesting information for fans of Star Wars. And so, like I said, it's been sitting in the back of my mind for a while, and then just recently, I've been making custom holocrons for people, and somebody asked me, why holocrons? Why devote so much time and energy to holocrons? What's so interesting about holocrons? And so that thing in the back of my mind that was sitting there waiting, or that was saying that there was some information that I might be able to share, clicked back on. And so I decided, why don't I take a little bit of time and talk to you guys about holocrons and do kind of a Holocron 101. And so that started out as, let's put together just a video on what holocrons are. And then I got to digging into what I know about holocrons and laying it out, and it turned into some crazy notes here. But all things told, I figured it was going to take more than one video to explain this. So what you have here is the first video in Legacy and Holocrons, or Holocrons 101. So I wanted to start out talking about holocrons. You guys have probably seen them at Galaxy's Edge. These are the official ones from Disney here. You've seen them in Star Wars Rebels. You kind of saw a Wayfinder, which is kind of like a holocron, but not quite, in the most recent Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker. But holocrons are sort of a rare thing that happens a lot in the animated series, but hasn't really made its way into the major film franchise. So let me talk a little bit about what holocrons are. So there's two main types of holocrons. There's the Sith Holocron, like this one, and then there's a Jedi Holocron, like this one. Okay, Sith Holocrons tend to be pyramid in shape. Jedi's tend to be cubed. But there's other varieties of holocrons out there. There's dodecahedrons, there's four-sided pyramids, there's all kinds of geometric shapes. But generally the Sith holocrons tend to be pointy, and the Jedi holocrons tend to be not. So there's a difference also when you're talking about holocrons between holocrons in current canon and holocrons in legend. Legends is basically the world of Star Wars that exists in the margins. After Disney bought Star Wars, they said, all these books and comics and things that have been written, we're going to call that Star Wars Legends. So basically it didn't happen, and we're going to reboot and talk about the chronology as we want to talk about it. And so holocrons as they exist in Star Wars canon now are basically these sort of things that drop in out of nowhere, that there's Jedi ones that talk to you and teach you, and they're kind of like textbooks. And then there's Sith ones that teach you like creepy textbooks. And then in Rebels, they had this thing where they put them together and it could answer any question in the universe because they're connected to the light and the dark side of the Force. And that's kind of in keeping with the Legends version of holocrons, but the Legends version of holocrons is a much deeper and more interesting idea and concept behind holocrons than the new canon version. So I'm going to be focusing primarily on the Legends because of all the things that were cut and truncated when they went to canon, or new canon rather. I think holocrons probably got the shortest end of the shortest stick in terms of material that was really interesting that was just sort of thrown away. All right, so a little bit about holocrons. Basically a history or origin. I'm going to go through a more detailed history in a future video because there's this legacy of holocrons. But holocrons, make no doubt about it, in Legends, a holocron is a Sith technology. Okay, the Jedi holocrons are basically knockoffs. Sith had these for practically ever. They got them from the Infinite Rakata Empire. Basically, the Rakata, which were this like race of weird fish people who were cannibalistic and attuned to the dark side and super aggressive, they had these holocrons that were basically dark side focusing tools, and they taught these to the early Sith, to King Addis. That was around 27,000, 28,000 years before the events of the Battle of Yavin in the Star Wars movies. So really ancient technology. And the Rakata had it before that, so it goes back into Star Wars prehistory. Okay, the Jedi Holocrons, again, were sort of knockoffs. Okay, the main function of the Holocron, it's something that can be accessible, or that's something that's accessible by Force-sensitive individuals, so it takes the Force to activate it. I said that the Jedi ones were kind of knockoffs. They kept that feature. You still had to have the Force to activate it. But there's a knockoff of a knockoff that's called a datacron. And datacrons are basically flash drives in the Star Wars universe. It doesn't take a Force-sensitive individual to use one. You can stick information in it, pretty much an infinite amount of information, and then pull it back out later. So the datacrons are usable by anybody. The Jedi holocrons basically function like textbooks with a built-in AI teacher. So it's information, but they make the gatekeeper, or the little built-in AI, makes certain that you are ready for that information and teaches a student the ways of the Jedi progressively using the knowledge that's in a holocron. And the Jedi got to the point with the great holocrons where they would put several different masters would keep adding to a holocron, kind of like the Anglo-Saxon chronicles. People would just write in it and record their knowledge, and then a new generation would write in it and record their knowledge, and so you ended up with these massive textbooks. But the actual tech behind it, the Sith Holocrons, go back quite further than that, like I said, and they're a little bit different. They're dark side artifacts, and the Sith Holocrons have a corrupting influence. You saw that in Knights of the Old Republic 2. Atris had a collection of holocrons that corrupted her and turned her to the dark side. You even saw it in New Canon in Rebels with Ezra Bridger. But the holocrons are these sort of focusing tools of the dark side that go back to the Rakata. They emanate a dark side presence. They'll make Jedi sick or uncomfortable. Eventually, they can turn them to the dark side. The holocrons, when they're activated, they actually they create tremors in the Force. So a Jedi or a Sith can feel a Sith holocron being activated because it's attuned to the dark side, and it's a dark side artifact. Holocrons are extremely rare. Only the Masters of the Sith can make them. The Jedi holocrons, pretty much any Jedi Knight could make a Jedi holocron if they learned how. But the Sith holocrons, only the Masters of the Sith could make them. So there's a legacy of holocrons, and it's usually the people who are in power long enough to be able to figure out how to make one of these, have the information to record, and record that information. So in times of strife or upheaval, somebody might make one in secret, but there isn't a holocron tradition. The people who are successful, the people are the Sith Lords who make changes, add their information to a new holocron that becomes part of the Sith legacy. So relevance within the canon, and then I'll end this video on that, or in the old canon rather. They're items of great power. Only the most powerful Sith can make them. They're extremely rare, and they're behind a lot of the plot points within Legends. Each one is specific to the creator. So people will find like Darth Bane's holocron, and that Darth Bane holocron is the legacy of Darth Bane. It doesn't look like anybody else's holocron. Each holocron is specific to the person who created it, and it contains information that's specific to that person as well. And they maintain sort of a shadow legacy within Legends. So whenever things start to slow down, a holocron is a means by which a new Sith can connect themselves to this Sith legacy and obtain power and influence and make change. And you actually see that the Sith legacy as it exists in Legends is kind of a bookended creature. It's not, or there's very little room to put things in it, which is why Disney scrapped it. It starts off in prehistory, and then it ends up to basically the removal of the Sith from the galaxy, ending with Darth Krayt and Darth Red. And so it's really a complete story. But you see within it that these Sith Lords keep picking up the holocrons of the other Sith Lords. Darth Bane learns from Beliadarzu's holocron. Darth Krayt, at the end of the Sith timeline, he's consulting the holocrons of Darth Nihilus and Darth Bane and Darth Adedu, and he makes his own, which is the last holocron. And so it's an important thing in the timeline, and also actually with Darth Krayt, he becomes Darth Krayt, rises to power using one of the earliest holocrons. So this holocron that's been sort of sleeping or out of play for 6,000 or 7,000 years, the holocron of Zozan, pops back in, and Zozan becomes Darth Krayt's teacher that leads him to become a Sith Lord. So it's the sort of immortal, ever-present influence of the Sith through the ages as represented by the holocrons. And that's a richness of tradition that the canon has basically dropped these days, making them just artifacts that come out of nowhere and show up and function like textbooks. So it's the Legends ones that I'm going to be focusing on. Join me back for the next video. I'll try to keep these in short snippets as opposed to trying to have like a half-an-hour lecture on it. And we'll talk more about holocrons and their construction and how they work within the Legends series.